Hello, welcome to 2024. Congratulations if this year is your year that you are getting married. So excited for you because I am joining you in that club. But today I want to chat about, I know we've spoken about all, what to do when it rains and all of the chaos that can bring, but then how do you best prepare for the rain? That is in another episode. But now we're into February and it's the opposite. We're talking about the heat. So this weekend in Victoria, it is set to reach 38, 40 degrees, something like that. And I'm seeing a lot of questions pop up in wedding Facebook groups and things like that, just asking like, help, what the heck do I do? It is going to be so hot on the weekend. I need some help. And so I really wanted to chat about this and give my tips on how you can best prepare for the opposite when it's just going to be absolutely scorching hot on your wedding day. So there is a little bit of similarity with things when compared to being prepared for the rain, but we're going to dive straight into this and I'm going to share all of my tips. So number one is shade, and that can be in the form of umbrellas, and I'm talking like big market umbrellas, but then also perhaps some individual umbrellas for your guests. You want to make sure that there is enough shade, especially for your ceremony and your sort of cocktail canapé section. So if you are getting married outside, if you can switch probably your ceremony location to under the shade of a tree, then that is going to just help immensely and bring a lot of relief to not only you guys and your celebrant and musicians, but also all of your guests who have to sit there as well. So think about how you can bring shade into that aspect, because usually afternoon ceremonies can occur in around the peak of the heat in the day as well. So you're wanting to make sure that you're under the shade of trees, have some umbrellas around, and keep that shade on hand for all of your guests. Not only your guests, but I do want to preface as well your vendor team. So if you've got a live musician, for example, playing, they will love you if you consider having a market umbrella for them so they have a bit of shade while they're playing. And same for bar service or food service during the cocktail and canapé area as well. Market umbrellas are going to be a big help, and I find if you're having that sort of garden outdoor feel, the market umbrellas really slot into that. There are some great hire companies out there that do really neutral ones or the scalloped edge ones as well, but I find they really, in terms of like aesthetically, they're really adaptable to fit into a lot of different styles. So look into market umbrellas, make sure they've got a weighted base as well, and do not set them up if it's windy. Even if it is scorching hot, it poses a much bigger threat for a giant umbrella to be flying through the air in the wind. That can be a weapon and an absolute disaster. So don't open them if it's really windy. Now, next point is bottled water. So I strongly advise having buckets of ice and cold bottled water available for when your guests come before the ceremony, during the ceremony, and into cocktail and canapé hour as well. Because during the hotter days, we are all feeling a little bit more thirsty, a little bit more dehydrated, and I just find a simple bottled water goes a long way. This is also great if you're not opening your bar until after the ceremony and you're not having like champagne or anything like that on arrival. Definitely include bottled water. Next is something that's a little bit more fun, but I like the idea of this, especially if there's kids or even big kids really at your wedding, and that is the thought of maybe including like icy poles or Zupa Dupas to be served just after or before the ceremony as well. And if you are really into aesthetics like I am as a designer and stylist, then you can opt for just like plain lemonade or the white colored icy poles. And if you want to class it up, I have seen venues a couple of venues that we have worked with, the Vines and Mewburn Park, both in Maffra, do this really well, where you can get a champagne, like one of those beautiful champagne ice buckets, fill that with ice, and if you've got lemonade icy poles, get them to open it and stick them in upside down so all of the paddle pop sticks are sticking out, and then that way they can go around and serve everyone. They can grab one out and they're cold, they're fresh, and yeah, there's nothing better than a lemonade icy pole on a hot day, is there? Okay, back to shade for a second, but this is specifically if you are having a clear marquee reception. Now, most hire companies will be able to offer the option of hiring a shade over the roof. So what this is essentially like a shade cloth or an extra layer that goes over the roof. So during setup, not only are you helping keep all of your staff and vendor team nice and cool during setup, but it also helps keep everything fresh as well. So I'm talking things like your flowers won't wither as quickly or, you know, as much. Your candles won't be melting away. The seats that your guests are going to be sitting on aren't going to be piping hot either. And the cutlery and glassware that are laid out on the tables aren't going to be too hot to pick up either. Because think about it, you don't want to have, you know, a 40-degree day and then all of your guests come in. Even for a 6:30 dinner, sometimes the cutlery can still be piping hot, and that's not great to be able to pick up and, you know, try and eat dinner with. But to counter that as well, there's also the time factor as well. So if you've only got a short amount of staff numbers there, included in your catering or venue or setup or whatever that is, then there's going to be a point in time where they have to set up cutlery. They have to set up glassware, flowers, candles and things like that. Otherwise, they're not going to get it done in time. So I strongly urge, if you can, ask your marquee company about a shade cloth, because that is going to be an absolute savior, not only for your guests, but I can guarantee you your venue team are going to love you for it. I know when we walk into a clear marquee and it has a shade cloth, we're just like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. It is, yeah, it just makes our job all the more enjoyable and comfortable. Next is fans and air conditioning. So you can hire some portable air conditioning. Look, I'm going to be honest and say my experience with this isn't that extensive. We did that years ago, but the options back then were like a factory grade ones, and they were quiet, but they didn't look great. And I know there's definitely some circumstances where you have to let aesthetics fall in, you know, to be able to keep you and your guests comfortable, because I think then that shifts the priority. So do your research on that, but fans are fantastic as well. Ceiling fans, or like those, were they like those pivot fans? You know what I mean, right? And even for the ceremony, the handheld fans too, they can look really pretty, especially in a garden setting, and you can sit those out on chairs or have a little basket of them for people to grab one as they go and find their seat, which I think is really handy. Now, one thing to keep in mind though, if you are having fans in your reception and you've got a lot of like light linens and printed stationery as well, and the layout of that, because you go to putting all of this effort into setting it up, someone switches the fan on and it literally blows everything away, and then you're going to try and find who was this person sitting next to, where do they belong. You know, it's time wise and stress wise, it's not ideal. So weigh up some options there as well. In the marquee setting, you can also have the option to open up some sides. Please keep in mind the direction that the wind's heading in, so you can let some airflow in, but you know, you're not letting in that gust that is going to just blow away all of the beautiful table settings that you've just set up either. So that is definitely, yeah, worth something keeping in mind. So they are my quick tips on how to prepare for your wedding day if it's going to be an absolute scorcher. I know there are some other things out there. It's not in my expertise. I would talk to your makeup artist, but reach out to them ahead of time on what sort of products they can recommend to be able to help set makeup a little bit better. And I think you can get you can tell that I'm so plain Jane. I'm not in the beauty industry at all, but you can get face mists and things, I think. Talk to your makeup artist about that. And yeah, I think that's something just really important to be able to keep on top of. You don't want to feel like you're melting away either. Another thing, another quick tip as well is if you weren't already considering perhaps changing into a reception dress later, I think if the forecast is set to be absolutely stinking hot, I know for myself, the last thing that I would want to be wearing is a big, heavy gown. So yeah, I think that's a really good time to perhaps consider changing into something a little bit more casual and light, that you can move in and you can just feel comfortable in, right? You don't want to be sweating up a storm and feeling just really uncomfortable. I know I talk about it a lot, but in these circumstances, whether it's heat, whether it's rain, it doesn't matter what it is, the comfortability of you and your guests have to be priority, because I strongly believe that is going to be a core memory of your wedding, of your experience in that. And it doesn't matter if you're soaking wet from the rain or if you're getting absolutely sunburnt because there is no shade. It's those memories that I think we carry through and look back on for your wedding day. We could have amazing food, we could have a killer dance floor, but there's probably going to be a point where you look back and you go, yeah, it was great, but oh my God, I was absolutely melting. Wasn't that just so hot? Where you could just tweak a few things. You could just look at perhaps pivoting your ceremony location or bringing in some umbrellas, getting some bottled water in, just those little extras really go a long way and will save you the stress, will save your guests the stress and your vendors the stress too. So they are my top tips. Have fun with it. If you were getting married this weekend in Victoria, good luck. Good luck. Your day will still be amazing. I hope you can put some of these plans in place, and please remember to stay safe and stay cool, and drink plenty of water. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.